of it stays here, and we disperse the rest to schools and county and.
And we actually had to disperse this back to the county. They held it through the tax cycle and then dispersed it back to us to pay out.
Makes no sense. All right.
Anybody else? Thank you for that information.
Yep. All right, nothing else on the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion.
That was bills payable.
Or bills payable, I'm sorry.
We have
I just
motion
wanna
and
get-
support, sir.
Need a roll call.
I just want to get to that consent.
Just want to
agenda,
get to the
don't I?
consent, yes.
Roll call.
Cindy Valentine, yes. Chris O'Regan?
Yes.
Christy Hiltonen?
Yes.
Artie Bryson?
Yes.
Mark Bouchard?
Yes.
Maureen Bory?
Yes.
John DeBoyer?
Yes.
Motion passes. Now the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda for the minutes of the meeting from 6:15:23, 6:19:23, and the check reports.
Support.
Okay, motion and support and all the check report. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And next we have public comments. Do we have any public comments? No public comments.
Anything on the agenda? Yes.
We can talk now.
Yes.
Yep.
Item?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't come here not to talk.
I was gonna say, we'd be very disappointed in you if you didn't talk.
All right. Gary Gunnernock on behalf of Brian and Karen Klingenberg. We were at the Planning Commission meeting last night. Nobody said at that meeting after the motion was adopted that this was going to be on the Township Board's agenda today. So it might be legal. It's a question to me of, is it fair to the people that had concerns about what was going on? And even in light of what the motion was to adopt. And I sent a letter to the Township on May 22nd. Presumably they forwarded to your group. And I noted that in 2020, when you expanded this soil from the industrial 31 acres to this residential 40, and my clients had built their house next to the residential in 2019, that your ordinance says it's supposed to be on an industrial, but you let it go on residential, that the restrictions were in place from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday and Saturday 8 to noon. And that was for any part of the operation of this facility. Now the Planning Commission has recommended some expansion of that, a little bit less than what the property owners wanted, but really nothing's changed. You put in place restrictions. Artie Bryson, in the minutes I pointed out, said we have to protect the residents of Clay Township. Last night it was disclosed by the operator that they're bringing soils onto this facility. The soil removal permit was to permit removal of items, sand and gravel, from that reservoir, that piece of property, not to bring things in. So where is it coming from? Is it being tested? They say they're in compliance with the water they pump off the property in the mining operation, but bringing soils in, and there's no disclosure as to where they're coming from. Are they clean soils, like the clean soils that are being taken out, or are they coming from some contaminated place? And if it's your job to protect the residents, it seems to me that you, Clay Township officials, have some duty to undertake that. Now, last night at the end of the meeting, I indicated to the Planning Commission that we invited you to come to my client's property to see where they bulldoze the trees. When they bought it, those restrictions were in place. Presumably they did their due diligence and knew those restrictions were in place. One was no gravel trains. They've been using gravel trains. They've acknowledged that. They acknowledged they bulldozed the trees. The trees was the buffer from their property to adjacent property. So I would say if you do renew the soil removal permit, that it has the same restrictions as before from 2020, because in modern America in 2020 and 23, we had gravel trains then. They say, well, they needed to bring soils to Harson's Island, but the Harson's Island Ferry, I called them, they have weight restrictions as to the length of the truck. They basically take tandem axle trucks, if you have a tandem axle truck and you're pulling a trailer with a dozer on it, your dump truck has to be empty. Well, nothing's changed, so their restrictions shouldn't change. And I would suggest that before you extend this, that your code enforcement people or your engineer or somebody go out and ascertain what's transpired. Now, Mr. Casson, he wrote a letter of recommendation as to this, but that was authored before my May 22nd letter, and it wasn't changed. I suspect that he never visited the site in person, or his assistant that was here last night. Come to my client's property. You can see where they bulldozed the trees, and they were, well, the last time I was there a couple of weeks ago, they were just still laying there. And they operate beyond the hours, and it seems to me that if you let them do that, you're saying to everybody in the township, well, we're going to have restrictions in place, but we're not going to enforce them. So I would suggest that you postpone any action on this until you can make a more informed inquiry of what's going on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
My name is Richard Hobig. I'm the owner of Algonac Sand and Supply. I'd just like to address a couple things that this gentleman said. Mr. Casson did tour the property. He did specifically go to the neighbor's house to make sure what we did with trees was appropriate, and he found no problems with the site when he was there. And that's been within the last, I think, 10 days. So that has been addressed. Any soils coming to the site are used to line the lakes, because we have to clay line it or the water will migrate off the site once the project is done. And I've talked to a supervisor and told him what our ideas were. I also talked to Mr. Casson, and we will be providing him with a sketch of what we would like to develop the property into. So these things are all required in order to do the final development. The final development will be one large lake with waterfront homes all the way around it. So, we are trying to add value to the community. The issue with the trucks, they're bringing up Harson's Island. Harson's Island is a very, very small part of our business. We provide for all of St. Clair County and the surrounding counties. We have to have gravel trains to bring in septic stone and different types of sand and limestone to provide to the community, and you can't deliver that in a small truck. It just doesn't make any economic sense or, traffic sense. I mean, if we could afford to do it, you'd have so many trucks running in and out, because each gravel train is approximately 4 or 5 dump truck loads. So, it would just increase traffic and, wear and tear on your roads. But the hours that we've asked for, we agree wholeheartedly that we should only be open to the public for so many hours. But the mining and maintenance is an issue that we can't address during the day. We have to use a lot of the same equipment to do our mining and to prepare the sand and safely operate. So we've asked that our hours be restricted for customer service, where we're loading dump trucks and sending material out and receiving material. But we would like to be able to maintain our property and mine until 8 p.m. I did talk to one of the board members, and the concern was raised that, hey, in the wintertime, 8 p.m. is really late. We're not trying to work in the dark. We're not trying to interrupt people. But in the summertime, I would agree to restricting certain months or however you see fit to take care of it. But in order to provide service, we have to have time to mine. And I've offered to the township and to the not zoning board, the planning commission, to come out, do a noise study. We've had the planner come out, we've had Roman come out, the ordinance officer, we've had Gary, the building inspector, come out, and the noise is just not offensive at our property lines. We got a complaint, and the police came out and couldn't find me on the machine. They couldn't hear it. They saw the boom swinging, and that's the only way they found me to come over and speak to me. So we're not creating a big noise problem, and we are trying to mitigate the complaints. We only have a problem with one neighbor, and they built their home 4 years ago. So, they knew the sand pit was there and operating. But if there's any other questions I can answer for you, I'd be happy to.
All right, Gary, thank you. I'm going to have a couple
I have some
questions.
questions.
That was just public comments.
Myself and Maureen will have a couple of questions for you when we bring it up on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Matthew Vermeulen. How you doing? I own the property, obviously, that's the industrial property that was a former Clay Township sanitary landfill. And I have a few concerns with the activities that's going on back there as far as liabilities to the township. Most recently, there was some dredging activities that were occurring in Cotterville Township. And the permits were expired. This was in the last 5 days. And it was stated in the previous permits that the materials were directed to go directly to the Smiths Creek landfill. They were directly going into OSHO properties or OSHO or whatever it is. And that's just one incident. They probably maybe don't know where they came from. But that's just what can happen. In regards to lining their pond, they have native material on site that after the sand runs out, it goes directly into clay. They could use the on-site material to line their pond. In regards to my property, I feel as though we should define the usage that they have the 30 acres of industrial that is granted an easement. And now they're combining a residential property that's putting a burden on my property. And they're driving across and that property doesn't have the right to use my property. Until there's an understanding between us, I don't feel as though the board should approve them to use my land.
You mean your land, the driveway?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Any other public comments? Hearing none. Okay. Budget amendments. We have general appropriations amendments for 22-23, the current budget, and
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-19, the Clay Township Amended General Appropriations Act, with various department changes due to additional revenue or expenses. Ultimately, the budget increasing overall by an amount of $35,000.
Support.
okay, I have motion and support. Any discussion?
Can I ask on the clerk, the increase of about $5,200, what that was for?
The health insurance expense was more.
So health insurance expense only affected you, but not anyone else? Because was it something different? I mean,
Yes, my son had surgery.
oh. So that wasn't covered on the current health insurance and you had to increase it?
Correct.
So, I mean, that can happen with any of our township people?
Correct.
If someone,
We get a lot cheaper insurance by doing that. We save lots of money
okay,
by doing that, so.
by having a smaller,
Right, so we're partially self-insured.
got it, okay. And the music in the park went up almost $2,000. I thought most of that was donations.
You still have to account for it's money in, money out. You still have to account for the money coming in to
Oh,
be able to
okay.
spend it.
Yeah, it's money in.
So it's
money
really not coming from us, it was.
Right, and with music in the park, the county significantly raised the price of the stage, actually doubled it,
And we have more events this year.
and more events this year.
And the money in, money out is basically sponsorship money?
Yep.
Okay.
But we still have to reflect it.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Any more discussion?
The one more is, I'm sorry, the debt service of $60,500.
That was for the enterprise leases.
Okay. All right, I'm good then. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Chris O'Regan.
Yes.
Christy Hiltonen.
Yes,
Artie Bryson.
Yes.
Mark Bouchard.
Yes.
Maureen Bory.
Yes,
John DeBoyer.
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Under new business, it's Elginak Sand and Supply Soil Removal Permit. And I would actually just like to do a motion, and then we'll open up the discussion. I make a motion that and I'll give you my reasons afterwards. I make the motion. I'll make the motion, we approve the permit as presented from the Planning Commission, allowing business from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. per our ordinance. But I'd like to put a caveat on it that we leave open the issue of around the adjacent property owner as far as a berm, a fence, or a tree or trees, that we get a chance to, we as in myself with the board, get a chance to talk to the property owner, talk to the neighbors, talk to our planner, and go out and inspect it ourselves. I'd like to revisit that part in a month, leave that open as to if we're going to require a berm, more trees, a fence, or nothing at all. And also, there's a request for added mining times to after 6 p.m., and also give us a chance to, our board, different times, to go out and inspect the property ourselves. That's my motion.
Support.
I have support.
I'm asking her if she got all that.
She got, so we have two open items. The border around the property line.
Yep.
And if we're going to allow mining or maintenance, I'm going to call it property maintenance and mining after 6 p.m. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll give you well, the whole thing, they were,
Did you support or Mark? Mark.
yeah,
You forgot the gravel.
what's that?
You forgot the gravel trains.
Oh, and the gravel trains. And they also are allowing from the PC, gravel trains.
That's an amendment to the original.
Yes, original permit
Okay.
request.
Planning Commission's recommending that they allow it?
Yes, I believe so. See, this is the problem I have, is legally, I can't attend any planning commission meetings. But we have final say, so it's like, I feel like, you know, we can't attend the public hearings that they have or anything else. That's why I feel on these items that we need to do a little more research, if you will.
You're the only one that can't attend, or?
Right. And I didn't get a chance to watch the video or anything else, so
Well, I thought we'd have something in writing from the planning commission to see what their recommendation was.
we do. It's in the packet.
Looking for it here. Memo,
It's all of this right here.
yeah.
So, anyhow,
Mark, you were at the meeting
It
last
says
night.
it's from Gary.
What happened?
Basically what I already just said. We approved the hours from 12 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday.
From
Wait, wait.
12?
no,
I mean,
8 a.m.?
7 to
Seven.
6 p.m.
Okay.
For operations, and
was there Saturday hours too?
Saturday from 7 to noon, or 2, what was it? I think it was 7 to 2,
It's per our ordinance.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
no
where
work on
is it?
Sunday.
Where,
We did not discuss gravel trains or anything else other than the times. That was the motion that was approved. Well, we discussed it, but we didn't put the vote on it, because it wasn't on the agenda or whatever.
I don't see some,
Since 7 to 12 on Saturday.
7 to 12 on
7 to 12
Saturday.
on Saturday.
I just don't see the planning commission's memo here. I don't know what you're talking about.
And the use of gravel trains, I
The
believe.
planning commission was just last night, there's nothing from the meeting last night, that's why we have a planning commission rep.
And he's saying there was no gravel train discussed.
We did not, it was, no, well, it was discussed, but
You didn't recommend to use them.
we didn't,
They didn't make a.
They didn't make
decision.
a determination.
But we're supposed to make the determination today.
This is my thinking. I'll do it one at a time. Our ordinance says for mining, hours is from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the week. On Saturday, it's 7 a.m. to noon. And that's what the planning commission recommended for them. Our ordinance says that they're supposed to have a berm, but in this case, this is before the current owners owned the property. There was a big buffer of trees, and the reason for a berm is to actually cut down on sand,
Dust.
dust. And on a day like today, with all the smoke, it's not working. But I'm not sure, and nobody on this board could really make a decision, I don't think, on what's appropriate until we go out and look at ourselves.
I agree with that.
And,
We have pictures of it.
okay, but pictures are one thing.
Right, we should see it.
Okay, can I speak, please? And that's why I think we should address this part of it a month from now, after we can go out maybe 2 at a time or 3 at a time. We can't have 4, because it would be a quorum.
Immediate.
Violation of the OMA.
And go and witness it ourselves. And I would want to have a conversation with the owners, with the property or the neighbors, and our planning and our planner, because maybe a 8-foot privacy fence would be a better option. And if the neighbors would like that better than a berm, I mean, berms can be ugly, depending on how they're built. And it's a maintenance issue too. Or if we can add some trees, but the problem with trees, fall comes and the leaves fall off, so they're really ineffective. So I'd like to leave that option open for a determination a month from now. As far as the property maintenance, Hey, Rich, when you do maintenance, are you digging down in the hole?
Yeah, the excavator's actually underground. The noise is
Right.
taken by a line.
I myself would like to hear with my own one good ear and see how much noise is coming out of that hole at the property line before we tell him that he can or cannot do maintenance mining, I'll call it, from 6 to 8 p.m. I want to hear it for myself. And I think to be prudent, everybody else on the board should at least go there, take a listen, and then we can come back and reconvene on that option also. And gravel trains, I think we should permit gravel trains for the reason that one gravel train, it's less trucks going in and out, and there's more tires on the road per tonnage with a gravel train, so it's easier on our roads. And I don't get the restriction or the idea of restricting gravel trains unless there's a thing with less dust. I don't know. 2 or 3 trucks versus 1 truck, what's going to create more dust? But I think we should allow the gravel trains. I never understood that restriction in the beginning. So that's my logic, and that's my motion. And
Those items that you just mentioned, would that be on conditions?
yes.
So approve the permit with conditions?
Well, I would say if we drop the hammer, we're not going to allow maintenance mining until we reconvene.
To review.
So right now it's 6 o'clock, but once we reconvene, we may allow him to go to 8.
Okay, all right.
Well, and I think we could do that before our next meeting, which is July 14th,
Right.
right? So we don't have to go a whole month, because, this is when the he shines for this guy.
And the same thing, he's not going to be able to plant trees or build a berm or even a fence in the next week. But as long as we figure out which way we want to go with that and give that the option to the building inspector to say, okay, we're going to require a fence, say. And then he has a month or whatever's reasonable to put the fence in.
But he's known about that for a while, it's not anything new. And those trees that were there, I don't know why they had to be taken down. That's the reason we,
I remember the trees in the original condition. I haven't been back after they were knocked down. However, it also says do not knock down any more trees until this event is over.
right, so I was told the trees were knocked down for fence maintenance, but I think you can get around trees to maintain a fence, so I don't think that was a good thing to do. We, waived the berm because of the trees, and now the trees are gone, and that's not right for the neighbor.
It needs to be addressed.
So-
I think when you come out, you'll understand the trees that are knocked down are to make a perimeter road around the property so we can do the fencing.
Well, you could have gone in front of the trees.
No, you can't, Maureen, it's a forest.
I think that's why we need to look at
But
it.
Yep.
All right.
I would
That's why we
really-
need to look at it.
Artie, could I address one more thing that you
Sure.
said? I had the building inspector out probably 3 times in the last couple months.
Yep.
And we have requested a decision on a fence permit to put a privacy fence around that specific neighbor's place to solve the problems. If we take the trees down, it's going to do 2 things. The trees work as a dust filter and as a sound attenuator in the summertime when the leaves are up. If we have an additional privacy fence, we requested 8 foot. Gary is trying to figure out whether I can put 8 or 6 or what. I believe the taller the better. And in your conditions, after mining, if the property isn't being made into a subdivision or whatever, they want an 8-foot fence all the way around. So this would just expedite that for that one particular piece. They won't look at us, we won't look at them, and it's done. So if they allow a permit, we will immediately put a fence up.
Well, I think dust is still going to get over an 8-foot fence, though. You know, that's not going to stop the dust getting over there. I mean, ordinances are for public protection, and they're not being enforced. This is not public.
Michigan out, they did a surprise visit because the neighbors made a complaint, and he, not only did he like what we were doing, he toured the property all the way around, and, you know, when there's high wind, 60 mile an hour, there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, this is happening more, Rich. I mean, you have to understand, we have to enforce ordinances.
This is why I want to do a
Now,
site
so
visit.
now-
There's no reason to argue
You
it
get to
now.
continue
You don't even
to,
got a site plan, you're interrupting her.
you get to
It's
continue to
unbelievable.
interrupt me, but when you say something.
Order.
So, I mean, I'm speaking. Every time you're talking and I interrupt you, I get slapped down. But you're able to talk over me anytime you want.
Continue, you have the floor.
I'm really fed up with the disrespect that I get from the majority of this board. We have to enforce ordinances. We have to enforce site plans. They have to be compliant to the state. We can't take Rich's word for it. I mean, he's probably right, but like you said, we need to know. But we're going to continue to let him operate. You know, if we renew his soil permit, I say it's on only up until July 14th till we talk again. We can't renew it for a year and then hope he fixes everything. I mean, he's known that there's been problems. And I'm very concerned about this materials that you're taking to line the site with. I mean, he says that you have materials on site that you could use. I don't know what the stuff is that's coming in. And I think it's coming in, if they're dumping and it's not stone and sand that you're using to sell to the public, I don't want to see stuff being dumped in there. That's just me. I don't think that you have, that's not approved in what the property is for, is to dump things there. And where they're coming from, I mean, that concerns me, what Mr. Vermeulen said about where they're coming from and if they're contaminated. This is not public comment time. I'm concerned. I don't want to see things dumped there, other than what you're going to resell to the public. As far as the noise, I mean, I don't think 8 p.m. is too late. I mean, I would approve that, right now, for him to mine from 6 to 8, because he's got to get his work done. But again, these ordinances are not just for businesses and contractors, the public matter. It matters also. So we have to not enforce them after the fact. The signage, the fences, getting around the property. I mean, there's got to be another way other than just an 8-foot fence. And those are just my concerns, so.
Again, I'm going to restate my motion that we approve the special land or the permit with an open line item as far as the requirement for a berm, a fence, or trees along the property for dust control. And right now, he can operate till 6 o'clock, but I think we should look at extending his right to mine that property for noise, with noise being the issue, to 8 at a later date after we go there and inspect it, and allow gravel trains. As far as, and that was, my motion. As
For
far,
how long?
What?
How long are we, is this
It's a
his
year.
whole year?
No, excuse me.
I'm just asking you
Excuse me.
how long.
It's my turn, right?
Well, I need to know
So give
what
me
I'm voting on.
respect.
I need to know what I'm voting on, if it's for a year.
Okay, yep, it's a year. As far as what he's lining the lake or pond and materials, that's not a Clay Township issue, that's an Eagle issue, if I'm correct. Just like You know, we had a problem at Pearl Beach with some possibly contaminated soil. We had to get it tested. It tested okay, but we ended up taking that, had to have the manifest, taking it to the landfill. Those are Eagle issues. They're not Clay Township Eagles or issues, and it's above our pay grade. It doesn't matter with this board. We don't have any juice there. That's an Eagle issue. And I believe Eagle comes out and inspects it, and they're the ones that enforce it. It's not Clay Township that enforces that. So like I say, that's my motion.
Artie, I have a question.
Yeah,
If we were to gain board majority today on this issue, and the soil erosion permit gets issued, as a board, do we have the authority with majority vote to at any time revoke the soil erosion permit?
It's a removal permit.
A removal.
soil removal permit.
Do we have the option to revoke it?
I don't think so. It's a one-year permit, but we have the option to adjust it. And I talked to our legal counsel. If we approve them to 6 o'clock mining, and if we wanted to allow him to do the maintenance work from 6 to 8 with no trucks coming in, would we have the option of addressing that at a later date? And the answer was yes.
You also mentioned that you wanted to have discussion on the issue after a site inspection. So I see that at our first meeting in August would be Monday, August 7th. Can we add that to your motion?
Sure.
And at that time, will we be prepared to vote on the open items?
Yes, on the open items.
Just trying to
Yep.
clarify your motion.
Mine is,
Maybe we could do it before the July 17th meeting too.
I think it should be in your motion which date it's going to be, so at
Okay.
least there's movement forward. So,
I would amend my motion to say July 17th, and because July 17th, if we didn't have enough information, we'd have the right to postpone it again.
that gives the board approximately 2 weeks.
Right.
To perform their own site inspections, meet with the parties that are involved, and hopefully reach an educated decision.
And what I would do, I'd get with Rich and get the property owner and get a window of different days and times that we would be invited to go and inspect.
Okay.
I have a question too.
Sure.
First of all, did Mark second that
Yes.
original motion? Are you seconding the amended motion now?
Yes.
Thank you.
So my question is, you're saying Eagle, the township has no juice in this dumping on its property, but don't we have a land, like, some rights on what the land is to be used for? That we're giving him, rights to, remove soil, but he doesn't have a right to dump soil from the township, right? He doesn't have a landfill.
You don't need a township permit to bring soil in and dump it on property.
Okay. And then.
That's an Eagle function.
My other question is so we're going to, if we vote, the majority votes to renew the soil permit, and, we have findings and we have alterations to it, and it's not complied with, he's going to still run business for a year, right?
If nothing is complied with, our building department would have the right to enforce it and up to cease and desist.
I mean, I look at
I mean,
a
I
lot of
would
the
give them,
documents that were given, like in 2022 and 2023, that, he's been asked to do different things, about sticking with the hours, no gravel trains. And, I mean, this is a quick meeting after the planning commission just completed it, and they are not recommending gravel trains, but we are. I'd like to know a little more why the original plan was no gravel trains. I mean, there's got to be a reason for that.
I didn't understand it, why. I mean, John, you're familiar with this type of work.
Mark, did you guys discuss gravel trains?
Yeah, it was discussed, but it wasn't on the, the attorney said the only thing we can vote on is the timing.
Was the original,
The attorney said that this board was to make up their mind on the gravel
Right.
trains, that it wasn't a planning commission
Right.
item.
Right.
Sorry to
Exactly.
interrupt.
Exactly. And I have to apologize, I did not know we were having and discussing this earlier this morning. My email went to spam. I didn't even have a chance to review what we discussed last night. So I'm at an inroad here on why we didn't have any more time, as Maureen said. So,
Well, I mean, we could, it's a possibility of having a special meeting. I think as of July 7th, he'd have to stop working. We certainly don't want that. I mean, after the 4th of July, we could meet on the 5th or the 6th to decide, you know, if we want to renew the permit versus just making a quick decision today without a lot of information. I mean, we call special meetings all the time. Why not have a special meeting on the 5th or the 6th? It's just an idea to throw out there, you know, for the public's safety, the public's concerns, and
could we do a provisional approval of the permit until
Well,
we have our
that was my
regularly
motion.
scheduled meeting?
That was my motion.
But
that-
not for a year, just
Well,
for that
How about
window
we
of
use the
time?
word temporary? Can we issue a temporary soil removal permit?
The motion that the planning commission did allow the use of gravel trains last night.
And could it have been that gravel trains were not to be used because there's no sidewalk on that street? Or I feel like during the course of time, I might have heard that before. Does that sound familiar to anyone?
I believe
It's a
the
Class A
concern-
road, they're legal.
yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't.
No, but
if it doesn't
I'm
come to my
asking if
place-
that was the reason that
No,
they
the
stipulated no
people
gravel
that-
trains.
The Pizonas that owned it, owned gravel trains and ran them out of it the whole time they owned it. And I'm sorry to sound loud, but it doesn't make any sense to me that this is an issue when you never stopped them forever. We had no clue. There is no written permit that says, Mr. Hobig, you can do this, this, and this. I spend millions of dollars here, and we're talking about, well, maybe we'll give you a permit, maybe we won't, maybe we'll do this. It doesn't make any sense to me. Gravel trains are legal. You've got police reports there that say gravel train spotted on Fruit Road. That guy who owns a gravel train, he might be going to your house. It's not just me. They're legal to ride on the road. I can buy one and literally use it for my car. And there's nothing anybody can say.
But there's a
Oh.
list of stipulations that
Right.
don't have a date on it.
And they were not made known to us until this complaint. You have to go back in the board minutes to find it. It's not here's the rules, Rich. We came to the township. They told us, yep, here's your times, here's this. But there's a difference between being open to the public and being closed and working. None of this makes sense because nothing's clearly defined.
it was
One
in the
of
permit,
conversations
it's in the
we
soil
had-
aversion permit,
Let-
that information, right?
We're getting off track. Again, we have a motion to approve the soil removal or the permit, and leaving the one item open as far as dust control being a berm, a fence, trees, or do nothing, and whatever we come up with would be enforced by our building inspector. Allowing gravel trains, and with the caveat that our board would do some due diligence and research as far as noise, and at a later date may allow mining and property maintenance being done till 8 o'clock at night during daylight hours,
That later date being July 17th.
being July 17th. So that's the motion, and, that's what we're discussing. I wouldn't want to say, we'll give them a 30-day permit, and then have this board say after 30 days, oh, we're not going to renew your permit, you're out of business. That's not fair, in my mind.
What's the difference if we do that today or in 30 days?
What's that?
We still have that right
Well,
to either approve or deny. So
Not
just
really.
asking you what you
No.
think the difference
Well,
is.
I don't think any operation
If
should
we-
be held accountable after 30 days. Okay, 30 days, I mean, you still got to do the work, and some of this stuff is going to go by 30 days, and he's going to have an investment out there, so I say no for 30 days.
well,
Okay, Mark, so you want to vote on it today? That's your
I supported it.
druthers?
I
Okay.
supported it.
Well, that doesn't mean that you said you're going to vote yes.
yeah.
What do you mean no for 30 days? What do you mean you say no for 30 days?
I think he's alluding
You
to
don't
the
want to do a
temporary.
You don't want to do a temporary?
What Chris is saying, he wants to put a temporary permit out there for 30 days, and I say no.
I say we'll give them the permit with these caveats.
Yeah.
Well, first you need to
exactly.
vote on this motion.
Yes.
Before you can worry about what.
Agreed,
Right,
agreed, but we're in discussion mode, right?
yep.
So if we
So
give
we can
these,
have this
if we
conversation.
approve with these caveats, our building department has authority to take action if
Yes.
necessary. Okay.
They haven't taken action in the past, so, I mean, I'd like to see the things brought up to code before, and I don't see why a temporary, permit would be a problem. That way, we make sure things
Because
get
our
done.
ordinance says
Why
they-
should we
they-
spend money, I'm still talking. Why
Yeah,
should we
obviously.
spend money? Oh, obviously, so a little more disrespect for Maureen. Thank you very much. So, I mean, obviously, why do we want to spend money having to enforce and go after and make sure he does things when we have the right to make sure he does things before we approve? That's going to make it easier for everybody, less money for the township to spend, because we know how it works. If we have to enforce, it has to go to court, there has to be money spent on both sides. I mean, we're not telling him he can't run his business. Run your business. I want him to run his business.
Well, I think we are telling him he can't run his business if we do that. And so you're saying you want trees grown, planted, or a 8-foot privacy fence all the way around it before you give him approval? It's not, or a berm when it's not existing? I say we give him a lot of time to do the work. And if it's not done by that time, we have rights to enforce it.
Well, he's
And-
known about this for a while and
No,
not started
we
anything.
haven't told him that he has to do any of this till now. So,
And that's not been told yet. We're still in discussion, right?
And it hasn't been told yet.
There's still ordinances that haven't been enforced and things that haven't happened. So,
Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mark Bouchard,
Yes.
Martin Bryson,
Yes.
Christine Hilton,
Yes.
Chris O'Regan,
Yes.
John DeBoyer,
Yes.
Brian Ward.
not voting for a year, no.
And I'm abstaining because I'm a neighboring property.
Right. Okay, passes 5-1. So, get with me a few different times where I can share to the board members where they can go and listen for you.
Both parties.
Artie, what
Please.
I suggest is, you guys decide when you want to come. We always have representatives on site. I would like it to be a surprise so that you don't come and say, Richard's on his best behavior today. Just come in,
Okay,
see what we got.
that's fair.
And I'm usually within a few miles of town anyway. And that way, that's the way the building inspector does it, that's the way the state inspector does it. And if you do the same, you'll see a daily operation.
Right. And Gary, can you text me or email me your client's phone number?
Sure.
Okay.
And I'd like to be there too.
Okay,
And I haven't been on his property.
all
I've been
right.
on Matt's property. I've driven the driveway more than once and more than this year. So,
All right, sounds good. So, yeah,
and then it's gonna be back on your agenda on the 17th.
yes. As far as the fence berm, or whatever we do, to protect you, as best as we can, reasonably can, for dust. And and see what kind of noise is coming out of there. Thank you. All right, next, 1B, we have accept donation from Jerome Pease. Jerome won, I think it was like $13,000 from our community, Elginak Lake Community Foundation, Jack Estates, and he's giving back. And he donated $500 to our Parks and Rec, specifically to support pickleball, I believe. So, and our policy is the board has to accept donations because we don't want to take donations from people that are expecting other things than what's righteous.
Board, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
You good, sir? Okay, Board, I'll make a motion to accept the Jerome Pease donation of $500 for the Park and Rec.
Support.
Yeah, motion support. And I know Jerome pretty good, and so I thought this was very nice of him to give back. I know he's buying a bunch, taking the money, and he's buying a bunch of golf cart tickets for the Elginak Lions with it, and spreading it around. So good for Jerome. Okay, motion and support. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the permit for, the annual permit for the Old Club fireworks. And it's business as usual. I know Chief Rose has contacted the company that's doing it, and they're all licensed, and they put on a pretty good display. It's actually just comparable to what the Lions do in Elginak, so.
Same night, right?
Yep, same time.
Well, we're going to have them coming out from both angles.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the fireworks at 9900 South Channel for the Old Club on, July 1st?
Support. Okay, we have motion and support.
Questions?
Yeah.
They've been doing this for years. However, do you know if they have the permit from the Coast Guard?
They do.
Okay. That's the only question I have.
Yep. They do. In fact, the Coast Guard's out there monitoring it pretty good.
Yep, okay.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next, we have a proposal to increase the pay for our fire department. We talked about this in the budget workshop. I put together the schedule, and it is budgeted for, and it basically raises the base pay, I say base for fire 1, 2, and EMT to $18. And then they have different functions, or I guess percentages, for people with no certificates, just fire 1 or EMT and fire 2. And then the pays for sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and assistant chiefs.
Also not included in this is something that should be addressed
Yes.
with regards to run pay.
Run pay.
The run pay is currently, the hourly pay is currently $15.81 at the top level right now. The run pay is $18. So the run pay is when they get an all call and they show up because they are not on duty. They would then receive run pay, which is currently $18 an hour. Typically, it's higher than the hourly rate because they're dropping everything from home to respond. So I guess the board needs to have a discussion about how they would like to address an increase in run pay.
And it's very small, what we pay.
Typically, it's a South Water call.
Yeah, it's like, I think we spend like $7,000-8,000 in that line item as far as run pay.
It is usually minimal. It's usually a couple $100 per pay.
Right. If they, I mean,
On average.
I'd be in favor of bumping it from 18 to 20.
Is that enough?
I think so.
So we are at 13.88% difference between the 1581
Well, that
and
was-
$18.
Actually, actually, it was like 24% because I was going off with their, not what they're making July 1st, what they were making June, today. They're at 1456.
When I said that was the highest of the scale, which at that time is lieutenant.
Right, a lieutenant.
Were the numbers right? Was it 1581
That's what the lieutenant was making,
That's
yes.
for
and 18
lieutenant.
on a run call?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 13.88%.
Okay.
So if we're going to be consistent, couldn't we add 13.88% to the 18?
Sure, what's that?
I haven't done it yet.
21 probably.
$20.50.
Okay,
2050.
2050.
So
I'm in favor of just saying 21, since it's, just for all calls.
Are you making a motion, Maureen?
Oh, he already made a motion, didn't he?
Nobody's made a motion.
Well, I wanted to ask another question about assistant chief. I thought we weren't going to have that. Now we are.
It's in the pay structure of the contract.
Oh, but we don't have an assistant
Right.
chief now, but if we wanted to get one.
Right.
All right, so we're not saying we're adding an assistant
Right.
chief. Okay. All right, then I'll make a motion to approve the payment of the MAFF tentative agreement, run pay at $21. Are we also approving this? Well, that's on the budget. It's my motion.
So your motion is to approve the MAFF tentative agreement and including $21
Run pay.
increase on run pay.
Not $21 increase, but
Right.
I'll support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
somebody want to check my math? I took 1581, right, minus 18. It's $2.19. So $2.19 divided by the 1581 puts it at roughly 13.85%. I rounded up to 13.85. So if we take the 18 and give it 1.1385, that was, $20.50. And Maureen made a motion to 21.
21.
My
well, we
math
really
right?
want to get them out
You
there.
good with that? I just want somebody to check it. Okay.
We really want to get them out there when it's a
Yep.
priority one call.
Okay, we have motion and support. Everyone understand it? Roll call.
Artie Bryson,
Yes.
Christy Hilton,
Yes.
Chris O'Regan,
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes. John DeBoyer,
Yes.
Maureen Bory,
Yes,
Mark Burchard.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Passes.
passes. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
All righty. Next, we have approved payment of benefit time to Chief Coach. This was brought up during budget, and the board directed me to figure it out and bring it to the board, and that's what we did. I think these contracts should be, if we're going to do this instead of doing this every year, let's change the contract for both Lance, George, and Chief Coach to reflect this. That's my thinking, but today before us, he's asking for 132 hours of benefit time,
It says 64.
or that's what that's what he's missing, and he's requesting 64. So basically half, little under half.
Well, the other half he was paid out was vacation time,
Yes.
because
Is this
that's
vacation
part of his
time?
contract. This is benefit time.
This is benefit time.
Benefit
So
time.
he didn't lose that time. He was
No.
paid out for it.
He was paid out for his vacation time for the contract, yes.
But not his personal
It's
leave
in his
days.
contract that he gets paid off in benefit time, or in vacation time, a certain amount.
A benefit is use it or lose it.
Yep.
So, obviously on the agenda right after this is the same similar situation with Lance. This is township-wide. So here's the issues when we pay off benefit time. For one, it's not accounted for their time. I don't have records of days they were here, days they were off. So when the auditors come in and they're like, well, you just gave, pick a department head, a check for $4,000 for time off, where's the records that they indeed still have that time off? I do not have those records. And I'm not saying not to pay any of these guys out. I'm saying going forward, we need a precedence of what we are going to do. If we are going to pay them out, it needs to be in their contract. If we're not going to pay them out, then we have to not pay them out. If we're going to pay them out and it's in their contract, they need to provide me a weekly timesheet, salary or not, so that I can validate the payoff at the end of the year. But there needs to be some type of precedence. I mean, we can not pay them, we can pay them, or we can make them actually use a portion of their time and then be eligible to either roll it or pay it. But we need something definitive for department heads across the board. That is what happens every year, a policy.
And they're asking for half here, so would we have them supply the timesheets, and if they didn't use it, go with half?
But they don't have the timesheets, they're salary, so
Right,
they
right.
don't provide them.
But they
But
would
now
provide
I
them.
would need them
To provide them.
to provide them. But this is Mike's full benefit time that he has left, 64 hours.
Well, he's asking for half.
No, this is his full benefit time. The other half he was already paid was vacation.
Okay. He should be allowed 132 hours of benefit time per year. He's requesting a payoff of 64 unused hours. That's why I'm confused.
Right. He's allowed 132. He's requesting to be paid out for 64 that he did not use.
And the same thing, kind of similar with Lance. Out of 165, he's asking for 80.
We'll get to that. That one's different.
Well, I'm just wondering, like in the contract, if we are doing it at a half like that.
Which is why I said this is not half. This is his full payout.
Personally,
It's saying he gets a total of 132, and he didn't use 64 of those hours. That's what he
Oh.
wants to be paid.
Right.
Okay.
Technically, if we follow the contract, they forfeit them.
Yes.
Right. Well, I know in the corporate world, you don't always use your sick time and all that too, but we want them to be there.
And I do think it's important that they use vacation time too, otherwise you get burned out.
Well, they use their vacation. This is the sick time
Right.
that they didn't use.
He was paid out for his vacation.
Yeah, they were all paid out for vacation.
So they didn't actually use their vacation.
Oh.
That's the mental.
So the biggest issue with that is when they don't use their vacation and they get paid out for their vacation, that is a huge liability on the budget that we didn't budget for, that then in turn creates budget amendments at the end of the year. So when wages are higher, you have to consider that's because we're paying out benefit time that wasn't used. Just as a caveat there. I don't
So,
care
I
what
mean, we
what
could
the board
pay it
wants
this
to do.
time as a one-time thing, and then next time say you got to use it.
We could. Put in my
Or
notice.
Address the contracts,
I
to change them.
I want to
So
trust
we
the
don't have to do
contract.
this.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get it done.
Yep, and next couple months, I got to do a few other things that are more present.
But
I think
we
it-
also need to create an environment where they're able to take their time.
That's right.
Which, from workshop, we know that it's an environment of them not being able to use up their time.
Yep.
It's true.
I think we should, address it in the contract and maybe do, allow them to cash in half of their vacation and sick time, and if they, they need to take some vacation time.
Right.
They need to be able to
Right, well,
leave the,
Well, that's something we should discuss, and how can we manipulate that?
right.
well, it's part of their job too, you gotta
That's true.
scheduling.
Yep.
Yeah, you know
It's really-
when
I
it's
guess you're right,
busy.
It's really not up to us, that's for them to do that. Yeah.
Well, and I've advised both of them, that you need to understand that you have a chain of command within your department to both department heads that are on the agenda today, that you need to be able to trust them and work them and let them do their job. And then if you go on vacation and you come back and it's not what you expected when you returned, well, now you have another issue to address. But you need to know that they can handle what needs to be done while you're gone and take your time.
Right, and I mean, winters, I mean, we're a lot busier here in the summer, so winter would be when they should use it, right?
They can use it whenever they want. They just
They
need to
know.
be able to trust someone and delegate the responsibility in their
We just put a new
absence.
sergeant on, right?
I agree.
So he's working towards that.
Yep.
Apparently.
Well, excuse my ignorance, but on our current contract vacation pay clause, are we currently allowing them, are we buying them out of the unused vacation days?
Use it or lose it.
They're different, and we gotta
The
make them.
department heads are different?
Yeah, we gotta make them the same.
Okay.
Mike, my coach is the police. He's allowed to cash in a certain percentage of his vacation,
He's allowed to cash in 48 hours
48 hours.
in May, 48 hours in November, and then he gets paid out at the end of the year because it mirrors the command contract.
That's
Right.
strictly vacation?
Yes.
So he can be paid for all his vacation?
He was paid for all his vacation,
He
yes.
took zero?
Yes. Well, he took benefit time, half of his benefit time.
I think he should be using some vacation time myself, too. But that's just me.
Oh, boy.
But before us is,
Big topic. Should we stick to the agenda item?
yep, before us is chief coach payout for 64 unused hours of sick and
Benefit time.
yep, personal.
I'll make a motion to approve the police payment of benefit time to chief coach in the amount of 64 hours.
Support.
Okay, a motion and support.
I'd like to amend that, based on what we discussed, that the chief and Lance, two people that we're talking about, but right now for the chief, is to make sure he has a succession plan in place prior to the next contract, or whatever you want to say it, that he has someone to take his place so he can have the time off. So that should be,
Well, they all have someone below them, Mark. You know, there's a crew leader below Lance, there's a lieutenant and sergeants below chief coach. They're there. It's in place.
We got,
Well, they have to utilize it.
we have to visit
Yes.
the
Yeah.
contract
We
language,
should just make an amendment, and if they're agreeable,
yeah,
to address it
to address the
properly,
vacation,
instead of annually at a board
right,
meeting.
how we're gonna do
let's put
it,
something in place that addresses
right.
that.
And I don't have the language right now.
Is that what you said, Artie,
I
is
will-
just to amend the contract?
I'll come up with a couple of options and proposals that we
Yep.
can review. How's that sound?
And also
Okay.
thinking about what we call succession planning, okay? Lance should have 2 or 3 people below him, 1 to 2 people, that he should have on a list right now to give to Artie that's in his drawer, that he knows who's gonna be the successing
I
planner.
think they're there,
At
Mark.
least a couple of them.
Yeah,
They're there.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Yeah.
The
there.
crew leader is, in fact, it's specified in the contract that the crew leader fills in when Lance is absent.
Yeah.
I don't know how Mike's is, but I
They,
think
they have command.
it's all in place.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we have motion and support for the payoff for chief coach for 64 unused hours. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we have
You wanna pass that?
payout for Lance.
So I'd like to correct this because this says that Lance had a request of 165 hours, and I think it's important that you realize the year before, not
Yeah,
this
this is-
fiscal year that we're ending today, the year before Lance forfeited this 165 hours. This is correct and incorrect. So he didn't get paid out for that 165 hours that he was allocated. He didn't use it. The paper that just came down there is his time for this year. He has 117 hours that was unused from this year.
Of the 165?
No.
No,
The
this was,
165
separate.
is-
this was the year that he
21, 22.
took over as the superintendent
Yeah, but
for
how
the
many does he have
DPW.
available?
This year, he has 117. This was forfeited from the year before.
So if you add it together, 165 and 117, he's forfeited 282 hours or something like that, right?
In the last 2 years, yes.
Right, and he's asking for 80 hours of it.
No, already suggested 80. His time this year, for this fiscal year ending today is 117 hours. If we're paying everybody else's out for the current fiscal year, my recommendation would be to also consider Lance's for the remaining 117 from this fiscal year. We can't do anything about 165. That was
Right, that's,
2 years
last
ago.
year. But, yeah. Well, if we're going to give Coach his 64, we should give Lance his 117, I think.
And Lance's contract does say that if he doesn't use his vacation time, it's forfeited.
Right, so we have to revisit his contract
Yes.
too. But that doesn't have to be in the motion, right?
No.
No.
I'm just letting you know, everybody know.
Was the 165 from last year ever
Yeah,
addressed?
2 years ago.
What?
I'm sorry, 2 years ago, was that ever addressed?
No,
Never.
no.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve vacation benefit time payout for DPW Lance 30 in the amount of 117 hours.
Support.
And we're not going to give them anything for 2022?
Can we?
No. That fiscal year is closed.
That
We would
won't-
have to
that won't
amend
stand
2
up.
years of audits to do that.
Yeah, that won't stand up in an audit. That'd be good. That's why we're going to give him the 117. He's only asking for 80, so.
Already asking for 80, right?
Yeah, for
No.
2022.
Is it state?
What if a contract is being negotiated and it goes on past a fiscal year? It's retroactive. I just think that the situation that occurred in the 21-22 fiscal year with the retirement of our DPW superintendent and Lance taking over and being under an interim contract that went on for months past the original interim, I don't think it's right that he loses all that time.
Neither do I.
So negotiations went into this current budget year?
Yes.
From previous year?
Yes. And, I mean, we're still dealing with COVID issues. We throw them into the fire and, taking
The
over.
high water, the meter project.
Yeah, taking over a new thing. You're not gonna work there for a month and say, I'm gonna take a couple weeks off.
Well, can we take some money out of the ARPA funds and give him a bonus of 100?
Not with ARPA.
Of 100 and some hours?
No, I would just do it under our water budget. We have room there.
But what do you call it? Because you can't call it.
Wages.
65 hours from,
You call it wages.
even though it's from 21, 22, will that stand up in an audit, Cindy?
You can award him whatever you would like to
Yes.
do as a board. We cannot say this is for your vacation time from 21, 22, no.
Okay.
So just so I'm straight. Already, you prepared something that says you wanted to pay out Lance at 80 hours
At least,
of the
yeah.
165, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maureen made a motion to pay out 117 hours. And now we're in discussion of that motion, right? Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Right, if we should
Okay.
add the 165 to
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I understood that part too.
Okay.
I was trying to find out where our footing.
So does anybody know about the fire chief, if he used all his time?
He's got time coming and he's actually, he's just given it to me while I was gone this morning, looking at the sand pit. But I believe his time's on my desk, so we'll have to address that at the next meeting.
So it'll just be an amendment on the budget, because we're closing out the budget.
But regardless, we need to address in their contracts, all three of them. They should all be the same.
Would
But
make things a lot
your
easier.
motion is for 117.
Do you want to
I-
amend your motion to add anything to it?
All right, well, how do I word that? Because it can't be just for wages.
It can be a retention payment, it can be
Retention
Right.
payment is fine.
So should I add the hours together and say 117, 165?
No, you need to do them
Okay.
separately.
All right, so I'll amend the motion to add another 165 hours to Lance Surtee for just retention payment.
Yep.
I've got a question before I support it, though.
Well, you
I
can
know I'm
support
supposed to
it
support.
and then
All right,
ask the question.
Support. So his total hours for the year, Cindy, our vacation hours are 200, is that correct? Yes.
There you go.
It's benefit time,
no,
vacation
just-
time, and sick time and
just
all that,
vacation.
right? Oh, just vacation?
Vacation time is 200 hours, yes.
So you use 35 hours of vacation time.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Well, we need
But
to-
that was 21, 22.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
only 3 days, huh?
All right, I'm clear.
So we're looking at, so your motion is a payout of 282 hours for Lance.
Well, it's 117 hours for his vacation payout for this year.
Yep.
And then an amount equal to 165 hours
Yep.
at his 2021
We can do it that
pay
way.
rate for 165
Retention.
hours for retention. Correct?
Correct.
Is that your motion?
That is.
Okay.
Didn't we just pay out 50% of the police chiefs?
No,
No, he got 100.
Oh, he got 100.
He used,
Okay.
he used half
he
of it.
used
Oh, used half.
the other part. of
Okay,
it.
okay.
There was
Thank
just
you.
64 remaining.
That's why I think we need to address it to
Yep.
say there's a maximum that you can get paid.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, I think it should be at least half.
I agree.
I mean, it's causing problems with the budget.
Well, that
Not only that, but those guys need to take time.
Yeah.
they need
They need.
downtime.
Yeah.
But we also
We
need
don't
to-
want Lance to stroke out on us. He needs to get his boat in the water.
Okay, we have motion and support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Lance is buying lunch.
Yeah. All right, where are we at?
We're going to Louis.
West Shore.
West Shore. We have a bill for, this is, by the way, this is, I can't say 100%, but will probably be money in, money out. We had to do an upgrade on our computer console that monitors all the sirens. And the total of that was $14,000. Originally I talked to the county emergency management. They were gonna pay, they verbally told me they were gonna pay for a majority of it. I thought 10,000. And they actually covered the $4,000 part of it. And I jumped up and down and called the county a few nasty names, not really, well, maybe a little bit. And then I got a hold of our Commissioner Vandenbosch, and he said, Artie, I can throw $10,000 at that. Because what this does, we monitor all 9 towers, but it also allows the emergency management to see them, to see it, and allows them control to set our sirens off if needed. And it also, we are the backup, and this is how I justify the 10,000 with the county. Clay Township is the backup in case there's a problem with emergency management and central dispatch. So we can set them off for the rest of the county if needed. So Dave Vandenbosch told me, he can cover this bill. Just yesterday, I emailed it to the county administrator, and she basically says should be no problem, but I got to verify with Dave Vandenbosch. But we still have to pay this bill, which needs board approval, but we should be getting a refund for the same amount from the county.
Make a motion to approve the West Shore Services Warning Siren Console Update invoice in the amount of $10,115, line 101-265-970.
Support.
Okay, a motion and support. Any more discussion? Here, oh, it's over 10 grand. Roll call.
What, sorry, when does the county send the money to us after we pay it?
Yeah,
Okay.
roll call.
Mark Bouchard.
Yes.
Maureen Bory.
Yes.
John DeBoyer.
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes. Chris O'Regan.
Yes.
Christy Hiltonen.
Yes.
Artie Bryson.
Yes.
Mark Bouchard.
Okay, and last is our Clay Township General Appropriations Act. And how this works, per our auditors, we have to accept the revenues and the expenses, and state law basically says we have to have a balanced budget. It's got to come out to zeros.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-20, Clay Township General Appropriations Act.
Support.
Okay, motions and support. Any discussion?
So this is basically approving everything that's in our budget for next year?
Yep.
Well, I still have a problem with the additional duties not being considered salary, personally.
Well,
That's just me. So I don't want to see that happen.
I've got a question. The 2023-20, what's the 20 represent?
that's our 20th resolution of the year. That's how we keep track of them. Last one was 19.
Yeah.
I see that.
Okay.
Sewer's the big bump, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sewer's a big bump because we got that capital expenditure project coming up, and we got to reflect it in the budget. And also it's reflected that we, in there, that for, on the revenue side, we'll be getting $1 million for federal grant and money from IRA for their part of the interceptor. And then anything in surplus, we would have to bond out that we can't cover. But like we said, it's, that those costs should be absorbed in our regular rate structure that we have now.
Yeah, there's no increase in rates, but we have to
Well, there's
find
a
out.
in our rate structure, it's forecast we're going to go up 5% per year
Okay.
on sewer. And that keeps us in the positive cash flow along with any other foreseeable capital expenditures for the next 30 years. So we go out 30 years on that. I'll entertain a motion.
We have motion and
Oh, we have
support.
motion? Okay. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Christy Hiltonen.
Yes.
Chris O'Regan.
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes. John DeBoyer.
Yes.
Maureen Bory.
No,
Mark Bouchard.
Okay,
Artie.
motion passes.
Did I start with you, Artie?
What's that?
You want to vote?
Sure.
Artie
I'll vote.
Bryson?
Okay. Yeah, I'll vote for it.
Well, I started with Christy. You
Yeah, I
were
know.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
support.
All right, thanks for coming, everybody. It was a good meeting.